Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna play Atama. Let's go. Maybe we play this one. Let's go. Katie, are you okay? Katie is getting my mind. You? I'm fine, Tamako. We take a just want to have some time alone. I'll be fine, Tomoko. I'll be home tomorrow. It's just that. I just felt bad that the last letter Noriko sent me was very weird and urgent and has me worried. And she always writes us and we never ever even see her. I thought I'd go and there surprise her. I know mom thinks Noriko is crazy, but when I was little, when you were a baby, Noriko was nice to me and talked to me about things I can see. I guess I just feel like she always talk about family curse and it's stupid, but I want to talk to her, just see her. I have to go to, is there and I know the what? I just want to read this part. Okay. You done with that? Okay. This was extremely awkward for the train ride, but I'm here. Yeah. Why is it so high, man? Okay, so good. Okay. Kisaragi session update April 14, 2011. Attention! In response to the tsunami in Iwate Prefecture, the Minister of Railways has decided that route to outlying area will be temporarily reduced to twice weekly in order to repurpose train for relocation effort and disaster relief. Thank you for your understanding and sacrifice in this troubled time. What's that?
Hello, this is Hunter Nance. I'm the lead developer for Atama.
Okay.
When I was growing up, I really enjoyed playing through developer commentary mode in various games, but after about 10 years ago, for whatever reason, it seems like games stopped doing that, so I wanted to make sure that my game had that in it. Just to give a quick rundown, basically there's going to be audio nodes like this one that'll give some commentary, as well as images that you'll be able to click on and get additional information. Additionally, you don't need to worry about enemies in this mode. It works the same as story mode, where if you do get caught, they'll just disappear and you'll be able to move on from there.
Oh, okay. Nice ball.
So Atama started as basically a proof of concept, or the idea was to just make like a demo or a vertical slice, something small, as just basically somebody's first game project, notably mine. And I was thinking, if you had like one of those games where a monster is chasing you, maybe with some simple AI through like a basic kind of town structure, that would maybe be like a good test of like doing 3D graphics, some pathfinding AI, basic gameplay kind of stuff. And I had this idea in my head of like a shanty town that you'd kind of go through to hide from this monster, but I never had like a clear idea of what the monster was or could be. And then I started playing Siren for PlayStation 2. It was like this game I'd seen a Let's Play of years ago from this guy named Egomaniac, and then later Super Great Friend, and I was always interested in it. And when I played it, I actually found it's got a reputation for being very hard and obtuse, and it really wasn't, and I really liked it a lot, and I wanted to play more of it, and I started thinking maybe that was actually kind of like a nice twist on that tech demo idea I had, where you could see through the eyes of whoever was chasing you, like Siren did. Um, I started to think of like a VR version of Siren too. I was getting into VR, and the one problem is that when you're looking through the eyes of like a monster that just walks and looks around, it kind of doesn't make sense. Meaning that like when you turn your head in VR, you I guess turn the monster's head too, or the zombies, or the Shibito, or what have you. So I was thinking you would need something that was like more freeform and easier to move around. Like I had that like idea in my head for like beholders, or some kind of like floating monster with eyes all around. So that way, when you looked around in VR, it kind of made sense. Like you weren't actually moving the neck of whoever you were remote viewing through. Um, but then I was looking through some old Junji Ito. I'm a Junji Ito fan, and I saw hang balloons with the floating heads, and I was kind of thinking that actually would make sense for like a Siren VR project. So I decided to kind of combine the ideas and say like, what if we could do like this tech demo game, like simple enough of something through a shanty town, and these floating heads were kind of hunting you. I sort of dropped the VR portion of it at one point, so and then it just sort of became like, let's just see if I could make this, and then I tweeted out like, hey, does anybody want to make a game with me? And then Hunter joined up, and Raucus joined up, and IndieCat joined up, and later Oren and Johnny, and it got a little bigger, and all of a sudden it's like here's Atama, and you're playing it and seeing dev commentary mode for it.
Okay. So this game, you get the idea from what's going again? Siren? And then the hand is from Junji Ito. What is that picture, man? And it's merely screenshot of the alleyway. Oh. Oh. It's not that different though. I'm so sorry, groundskeeper. No, I'm so sorry, let's Becky. I must have dropped it somewhere on the other side of the main gate. I promise to replace the lock to make sure no one can get in as soon as I can. Key on the other side. What? Okay.
It's kind of funny when you have an idea in your head of how something is gonna look when you make it, and then you partner with a few people and you all work together on it, and it looks very different than how you imagined it. And in the case of Atama, I had this idea of a shanty town with much more like claustrophobic, closed in sort of alleyways with like maybe metal like roofs and eaves that you could hide under, and the floating heads could kind of look down at you. Maybe like hanging balloons. They had, in the original comic, they had these like strings with nooses hanging under them, and it was this like allegory for suicide. And I didn't know if I wanted to go that deep, so I couldn't think of exactly how to incorporate that in the gameplay. As in, do the heads like kind of come down and get you, or do they actually do grab you somehow with like a noose or some kind of, I don't know, weird little hands that come out of them, etc. So, you know, when Hunter was kind of putting things together, I noticed it was a lot more open, like kind of wider open, and that worked a lot better. So, when you see this, it's very different than other horror games, I feel like, where things are usually tight and claustrophobic, and it feels like in Atama you're maybe a little more exposed than in other games. So, here in the sort of alleyway section where it's more run down and everything, at least than in later parts of the games, there's still like the sort of, sheet metal like walls and roofs and like just things around, and it kind of looks sort of how I imagined it in some ways, but also very, very distinct from that and different from that. So there's a lot of like, a lot of like side houses and things, but they're like big streets, and there's a big parking lot you're about to enter, and then there's a lot to like move around and look at, but it's also scarier because there's these flying enemies that can kind of come get you, and there's places to hide, but again, like to get through it, you have to navigate through these big open fields where they can come get you. So it's interesting because the sort of like topology of it worked out really well, I think, ultimately. I hope so, anyway.
Okay. Just searching for some secret. Maybe there's there is some secret. Oh no. One budget. Oh. What? Kimigabari. There's something unnerving about this thing staring at me.
これはなんだろう。
Coin. Coin with number 1 in it. How many do I need to collect? Okay. Ominous warning. The train has not come in weeks. Keep your head down, stay hidden. If they see you, you're already dead. If you can reach the train tunnel past the bamboo forest on the far side of town, you might be okay. I think that may be our only way out of here. Maybe. I'm not seeing the head yet. Beacon of UFO flyers. Strange sightings have been seen in the sky above Kisaragi. They float overhead, way up in the sky. They are often found hiding behind clouds and appear at dusk. But what are they? Well, everyone has their theory. Government drone, foreign invaders, or the more superstitious belief them to be vengeful spirit. However, you, dear reader, and I know the rules. They are out there. Please, if you have any information and open mind, please contact me. Nah, man. I'm not the what's called tinfoil hat guy. What is this? Factory condemnation notice. Condemn. Unfit for human occupancy. Use of or occupation of this building is dangerous and unlawful. Trespasser will be prosecuted to full extent of the law. April 5th, 2011. Oh, Atama itai. Okay. Okay.
Players had a shockingly high amount of trouble with these first enemies, but one of the main reasons for this was players struggling to determine exactly where the enemies are when they were looking through their eyes. Throughout the entire game, we tried to put a lot of landmarks to make it easier to tell which enemy you're gazing through and where they are relative to you. Originally, I thought the knocked over truck and the large buildings and tanks in the background of this area would be enough, but because it was the first introduction players had to the mechanic, it really wasn't. So, the area at the exit of this parking lot wound up having all sorts of identifiable objects like a parking lot sign, the bamboo trees, and most importantly, the street light that's flickering a different color and with a more intense light than the other street lights.
Okay, so you're giving me a tip? Nice. I'm right there. So there's a head coming. So I need to hide. Okay. They're turning around for now. Drunkards know. They think they know me. I'll just lie here and let them take it all. It's mine. It's all I have left. If they're gonna take my livelihood, then I'll take everything from the factory. I deserve to have it anyway, and I won't let it go. Just you watch. The way they look at me, all puffed up, heads swollen on their own self-importance. Just you wait. Okay. It's turning around. Where's the other head? Okay. Oh, another coin. Number 2. Wait, what? How do you see me, man? Okay, very good. Okay.
I love how the remote viewing sound came out. I like sound engineering. I like Foley work because you get to do all sorts of weird stuff like this. So what this is like 5 different things layered over each other. I've got some like slimy, goopy, fleshy stock sound effects I had in a library. And then also there's a heartbeat that you can hear pretty clearly through all of it. Some electricity going on just to give it like a little bit of crackly energy. And then I found some stock chanting of like just like, you know, generic public domain evil cult I own the evil monk kind of sounds. And you know, you put them all
Okay.
together and this is what you get. I just love how it came out. I had a different sound I wanted to layer in here and it didn't work. But fortunately, I found a different place for it almost right away. So when you are cycling between different enemies, those little crunchly, like crackly noises you hear,
Uh,
I took apples and I ran them over with my car
what?
because that's how they made bone breaking noises in Mortal Kombat. It's where I got the idea from.
Wow. Very nice. Okay. Just right there. Let's go. Headaches later. The train haven't come from right now. Oh my god, it's empty. I'm starting to get really sick with 2 hours than they say. My head is spinning. I can't keep any food down. Hallucinations are starting. I swear the other day I saw this lady head just pop off and start floating away. I need help. You gotta help me, man. Nothing over there. Okay. Whoa. Whoa. How do you see me, man? Oh. Okay. Okay, let's go this way. Can I open this thing? Oh, I can.
This scare was actually originally made by accident. Early on, the heads would only check if they could see you, and if so, go after you without determining if they had a route to actually make it. And the hole in this gate was actually smaller than it is now, but at the right angle, the enemy on the other side could occasionally see you, and it freaked me out when it happened, so I decided to program in a trigger to force the enemy to see you.
What?
But even that was confusing for players because they would often think that they were seen by the enemies in the previous area and not realize that it was on the other side of the gate. So that's what made me decide to force the player to actually gaze through the enemy at the same time.
Oh. Like this? See. Okay. Nice. You got this key. Any coin? Let's do Kaide. Kaide, I have vision you came to our terrible town. I'm so sorry. The extended are coming and I fear for you. I hope I get a chance to meet you at the train station, but I don't know how much time is left. I was never able to have children of my own, and sometimes I think I have made a terrible mother. But I always love seeing you when I visit. The family heirloom is here in town. I left it for you in the shrine. I know you secretly think I am crazy old woman too used to the old ways. Your parents made that no secret, but you were always so kind to me. If you have the heirloom, it might protect you. The train won't come, but maybe there's still a way out. I love you always. On Noriko.
This is the courtyard. It's sort of de facto second level of the game. I think it's the one we made first, though, actually. Courtyard contains the first, like, proper puzzle, and, you know, puzzles in the inspiration game Siren, you know, there's one here that kind of does the kind of puzzle I was looking for, which is basically the baby head is staring at the axe you need. And it's cool because it makes, like, this menacing sort of image, but it's also a gameplay tip, you know, because you're supposed to obviously, like, figure out how to distract the baby so you can take the axe it was looking at, and that also helps, like, orient where you are. So there's also that, like, scooter that's kind of outside the door in the back to help you figure out exactly where you are. And that was, I believe Hunter arranged all that, so that was really smart. You know, there's a basic, like, rotator head enemy in this area, which we, you know, in my mind, that was always the first kind of enemy, was, like, just one that, like, sits in place and stationary and looks around to kind of introduce you to the idea of remote viewing and figuring out where enemies are positioned by what they're looking at before adding, like, movement in. That said, you know, since Courtyard ended up being the second area after all, you know, the first area we have a rotator head in the alleyway, and then we do have a second moving one. So, you know, higher difficulty curve than I guess we were originally intending. But, you know, hey, it's supposed to be like Siren, right? That said, too, you know, we had the van here, and that's where we got to play around with, like, lighting and things like that. So I like Courtyard ultimately, you know, and it's interesting because we had the blacksmith and the carpenter, and I feel like that was something Raucous and Hunter came up with their interaction. I feel like there was a couple back and forth because I always felt like maybe the carpenter, excuse me, Jiro, was like a little too standoffish, like, you know, the blacksmith kid just died or whatever. So I feel like we had to, like, kind of point that out because otherwise, you know, it's a fine line between having a character who, and this is, you know, the you're not supposed to sympathize with the carpenter totally here. He is being kind of a jerk, and, you know, to put it lightly. So it's one of those things you want to make that come across and not just make it sound like, you know, you're a bad writer or you're writing like the way people don't speak. So, you know, it's that's probably me being too overcautious. So we you know, we like went back and forth on it a lot, but we ended up with, I think, a pretty like organic way of talking about what you need to do next and signaling it with the remote viewing such that it's not too handholdy. And yeah, I like this whole section. I think it came out pretty well.
But You just tell me a secret, man. How to play the game. Okay, so this is early access. This one actually the first area of the game that was made. Oh, so the last sample was like figuring out the first version of the head. This screenshot is them Karen. Nice, man. You know, we having the enemy have glowing eyes, but we ultimately feel like it was a bit too much. We did wind up using the idea for the obviously in the final area of the game. Okay. Any coin over here? I don't see any. By the way, I just wanna point out this thing. The RFT is a drift van. 4WD straight man. Okay. He's looking at that. That is the scooter that guy was talking about. There's something over there. Now we can go over here. Crumple letter to blacksmith from carpenter. Oh, this guy. Daichi, I understand it's still in the morning. If it had been my child, then what I do. But this is a matter of business. The ads you made me to a notch. The first time I used it and I did a lumber. Mayo-sama is demanding the roof be fixed by the end of the month, and I only halfway through building the scaffolding. I left the ads in the woodshed next to your workshop. Please, at your earliest convenience, Jiro. Blacksmith respond. You never even had children, you goddamn outsider. What all you know? To hell with you and your axe. I sharpen it now, and if you really want it back, just your face to me and I will show you how sharp it is. Jiro Journal, May 22nd, 2019. There's something wrong with this place. Just something off. But the way everyone acts here, I know beggars can be choosers, but everyone here just freaking the hell out. I'm supposed to be fixing the roof for May or summer, but if I confront Daichi about my ass again, I think he really might kill me. I'm boarding up the hole in this shack for my own safety. I stick to my tent and my space and do the best I can for May or summer. And just forget about everyone else. Wait, what? What's that? Okay. Just how can what? What is this? Very early version of the bell puzzle before the hole in the wall. Before the hole in the back of the wall shanty house was open, and where we were still using the ghost for tutorial.
The distraction bell puzzle was really tricky because there needed to be a balance of it not being completely obvious, but also not frustrating the player into giving up and thinking there was nothing they could do in the area, or attempting to brute force it by aggroing the baby enemy. The very first thing I did to try to make it more apparent was cutting a hole in the corner of the adjacent shanty house so you could see the bell from the main area, and then also cut the hole in the shanty to allow the player to crouch and get behind it without having to go all the way around. Then I added a little light to the bell, but all of this still wasn't enough. So then I added a note that explicitly mentions that there's a bell next door, but some people still struggled, so I made all the distraction bells in the game periodically give off a little noise at random, and I made the probability of this one especially high. Hopefully now it's obvious enough, while still not being too obvious. So the question is, how long did it take you?
Well, 3 seconds also. Well, because I'm extremely smart and the other player is just dumb. Okay, this. As far as small jingle for the bell next door drives me insane. Every night whenever the wind blows, it chimes incessantly. I can't sleep no matter how I cover my ears. It feels like so deafeningly loud. But the baby already attacked me, so there's nothing I can do. I can just take this in. If the baby was still there, you can just go back, jingle the bell, and the baby is distracted, and you can take the axe. I'm smart. Heroes Journal, May 23rd, 2019. I can't take this anymore. Whether I ever come here, I tried to board the train and get out, but there was not a single person at the station. And yeah, I still felt like something was looking at me. I never felt anything like it. Piercing. What the hell is going on? I feel like I can't even leave. Like I'm in a prison with all these monstrous people. I have to talk to Mayo Sama. He's good and I'm not smart anymore. Benevolent man. Okay. I know he can make things better for me, but the residential Israel is blocked off from us, and I will have to use my ladder to sneak in. Ladder. It's that thing. But we need to find some secret foods. Did I find anything back here? Is there anything that I missed? I am not. Here. Okay. Timeline of Kisaragi. 1883. As part of Meiji government effort to spread Shinto, Kisaragi Shrine is constructed and a humble town formed around it. 1938. Ongoing effort to expand the railway led to the creation of Kisaragi Station. 1939 to 1969. Nice. The railway led to various industries coming to Kisaragi and opening factory as well as mine. 1970. Young entrepreneur Mayo moves to town and make plans to create a large manor right in the middle of town. 1974. Mayo Manor is finished and become tourist attraction. 2005, Mayo purchased additional land, including the mine, which was shut down in 1988. 2011, the earthquake and tsunami led to substantial damage to the railway and the resource being diverted to other places. The town population plummeted to less than 1,000. as the factory closed and those we determined to get out. 2011 to 2015, many that remained in the town lived in destitution and the factory district became a shanty town. 2015, may reopen the mine, bringing us back to prosperity. There's no coin away.
The dark secret behind this game's development is that nearly every asset in the game is either a free or cheap Unity store asset, or a part of a pack of Japan-themed assets and locations that we bought. To some extent, this limitation dictated the level design because we had to work with what we could find and try to make it all come together into something cohesive. I did have to try to scope out mostly assets with similar levels of graphical fidelity, but there are definitely a few that stand out a little bit as either more detailed or less detailed than others. But honestly, I'm extremely proud of how cohesive this game looks despite being put together with so many disparate parts and with what we managed to pull off with essentially no budget.
Yeah, congrats, man. Clap, clap. Very nice. Hope to see more in the future, man. Alex raving, the daughter doesn't believe me, no one does. But I swear, if I just concentrate, I can see what other people see. The blacksmith staring at his son's shrine. The old woman pleading with her grandson to drive them out of time. But also something flying, like way up, high up. I have never felt like this before. I gone through withdrawal before, but this has never happened. Never. Just a couple more days. If I can get through just a couple more days of this, maybe this will all stop. Okay. There's no coin over here. Tell me, Death, where do you hide the coin? Over here? Nothing. Why is so slow, man? Okay.
So this rooftop area is funny. It's got like a little transition scene, which when I included it in the trailer, because it's like supposed to be like someone climbing a ladder, kind of climbing a ladder and like stopping briefly. People felt like it was someone in the YouTube comment thought it was frame drop, like
Yeah, me
trying
too,
to
man.
render this ladder slowly moving, and we just like whoever's computer just couldn't keep up. But no, it was supposed to be someone climbing the ladder, which other people pointed out. So the rooftop area was meant to be like the third level of the game, and you do more about the rooftops and such. And that's tricky because you kind of have to model not only to the rooftops but the buildings under them, and it just kind of didn't work out with the maps and everything, like the way we were working out the town and all that. So what I do like about this short rooftop section, besides the little ladder puzzle, which is if you look off in the distance, there's two things to note. One is if you see those two lit towers, you can see them through a lot of the early game, and they lead ultimately to the manor where you're going. So they're kind of like creepy. They kind of maybe hint at like almost like eyes in the distance. And they're just sort of like the beacons you're supposed to go to, but in sort of an ominous way. So and they maybe foreshadow something you see late game possibly. So what else you might notice too is if you look over, there's this weird like sort of, I guess, like shantytown like double building with a head patrolling it, which is an area I made where I was kind of getting used to playing with the patrol points and everything. But I made like a little mini kind of map that you could navigate around, but it turned out like it didn't really fit anywhere in in Shantytown, like in the courtyard scene or any of that, and it was like too run down for residential. So it's one of those things we were like, tell you what, let's leave it over to the side here, and then maybe in the escape sequences or later in the games, maybe we can like revisit it. But it just ends up like kind of it didn't really work anywhere, so we decided to just sort of leave it where it is. And so if you look over there, that eat your heart out cutting room floor, because there's some stuff over there.
Okay. Wait, what? Who see me? Wait, if I see me. Okay.
Originally, the plan for the sleeping enemies was going to be a little bit more involved, where basically if they heard noise, that is, if you were walking or running nearby, they would open their eyes, and then if they saw you when they opened their eyes, then they'd go after you like a normal enemy. And we were also thinking maybe they would like periodically just wake up for like a few seconds and then go back to sleep, that sort of thing. And we also thought about just normal enemies detecting you if you're running by nearby. Like basically they can hear you or whatever to give you more of a reason to crouch. But it just kept being a feature that kind of fell by the side, and ultimately we, kept working on other things and never really came back to it. But I'm still fine with the way it works, especially since the other sleeping enemy in the game ties into the little scare where you pick up the key and it instantly aggroes. And I also like the way that they work when you're looking through all of their eyes, and then you get to one that's blank and it's snoring, and you're like, is something broken? And they're like, oh, I see. I understand what's happening now. And it kind of gives you that extra thing where there's one more enemy nearby, but you don't know exactly where it is, but you kind of have that sound cue now. So I think it still winds up being interesting enough.
Okay. Is that a sleeping enemy? There's nothing there, right? Not fine. I must reach Mayor Summer's manor without being seen. I know I'm not supposed to be here after curfew. They all still out and about. I have to plan my route carefully for some reason. I feel safe in here for now. Perhaps it's because of the offer there. Correct?
One of the main goals we had was to have every area present something new. The first area was the first, and the second area added distraction bells and a sleeping enemy, as well as being a bit more of a puzzle and more calm area in the first area, which was more of an action sequence. So, for the residential district, what we wanted was to have an area that ramps up the amount of enemies, but also functions as a less linear area. Whereas the first two areas, there's basically only one valid way to go through. This area has multiple paths, many places to hide, and an optional distraction bell. You can also outrun and hide from many of the enemies in this area compared to the last area where getting caught basically meant instant death. Also, for most areas we planned them out ahead of time, but we really struggled to get a map for this area that felt good. So instead we just jumped into it and started putting in houses and other objects and testing out layouts, and we quickly found we were actually really enjoying this area. There were some concerns with this area being too much of a spike in difficulty and complexity, as this really is the first major difficulty hurdle in the game, and we even had some feedback that straight up said it was just too hard for them and they wanted to play more but they couldn't. So there were adjustments made to slow down the enemies and add extra places to hide, but also this was part of what led to deciding to add the story mode difficulty.
Okay, so some people are not gamers, so maybe that's why it's on. Maybe they are a bunch of what's it called? Video game journalists. Doctor Clinical Follow, March 28, 2019. Thank you for coming to see me as soon as you can. As soon as you are feeling well, better do so. With some humility that I must admit, I cannot find what is causing your skin condition, and ever since our phone troubles, I cannot get a proper referral. That's it, I rule out scleroderma, and whatever is causing your skin to tighten doesn't seem immediately distressing from health concern. As we say, you do look years younger. As soon as the train arrives, I think a consultation in the city hospital might be warranted. Try not to worry. I think it will be okay. What might not be okay is... And the note suddenly stopped. Is there something here? Nothing. Something here? Nothing. I saw that head over there. Yeah, I need to watch this head. Okay, I can come out now. Wait, let me see. Are there any coin here? Nothing.
Originally, this area didn't have these safe zones marked by the Ofudas, and the plan was that you could hide places, but you needed to get out of the line of sight for it to actually be effective. This made it more realistic, but also made it much more difficult, and so people had issues with this area, and we basically needed either some form of safe zone or a checkpoint. I really didn't want a checkpoint because I wanted players to actually need to take the time to learn the patterns of the enemies and to get it all in one go, so safe zones were a bit of a compromise. Unfortunately, they do hurt the immersion a little bit, but the Ofuda giving them a slightly magical property or a gameplay excuse for working this way helped a little. We thought about making it so that if you gazed at yourself while in a safe zone, then you would appear invisible or something like that, to add some form of rationale for why the monsters didn't see you, but it seemed like a bit much, so we never wound up doing it. Originally, the way safe zones worked is enemies would approach the safe zone and get stuck like they would if they ran into a wall before giving up, but this looked really awkward, so now they instead instantly return, which is still a little video game-y, but at the end of the day, this is a video game.
Yep.
The solution of sliding doors in the manor winds up being a much better and more realistic way of dealing with safe areas, and if we had more time, then maybe we could rework the outdoor areas to work that way, but as is, I'm happy enough with the way safe zones work.
Okay. That's the thing. I brought the... Thank you for coming to see me as soon as you were feeling well, Tamao-san. I must humbly apologize and say that I've been going through my textbook to no avail. Whatever is causing your facial discomfort isn't something I'm totally familiar with. I know that it's not what you want to hear from a doctor, and I know it's not what I like to tell a patient, but I don't see any cause for serious health concern, and if the blasted phone come back or with the next train, you might take a trip or make an appointment with a licensed dermatologist, regrettably. By who? What's your name, doctor? Going forward, whatever you make a delivery, put it behind barricade around the corner of the yard and ring the bell. Thank you for coming to see me as soon as you weren't feeling well, Tokugawa-san. I hope you don't mind saying, but I look forward to examining your body in detail again. Your skin condition, I should say, is not unique, and many people in this village have talked to me about it. Some kind of epidemic, but everyone I've seen is in good health otherwise. Nothing to fear. It's turning skin makes you look young and beautiful. You know it never. And then it ends. Yes, ring the bell. Run away. Okay. Technical follow-up. Thanks for coming to see me. First of all, you are an elderly woman, Takemi-san. I would think anything to reduce with wrinkle would be a welcome change. Secondly, I don't like the implication that you felt at my examination was, in your word, creepy. I'm happily married. You could be my grandmother. These are ugly accusations, and I guess that is to be expected considering who they are coming from. Your daughter rejected Mayo-sama and rejected this sacred or at any rate, I misdirected my topical oil for the swelling and hope you don't get sick. That not suddenly stop. Wait, what? Who's singing? My good man. Okay. Whoa. Okay. What am I doing there? Okay. Oh. I can distract this guy by doing this. Thought he was chasing me. Whoa. Okay. Got that. Oh, like how? How can you see me, man? I just need to know the coin location and I be gone. Maybe it's over here somewhere. Okay. Another safe house for a vessel report. Before the phone went on, I had managed to smuggle some of the ore to the university and received a report from the chemistry lab. They had metallurgists look at it, and when they called, they said it was singularly the worst metal they ever seen. In terms of application, it was soft like gold, but not particularly conductive to temperature or electricity. It is dull, heavy for its volume, and it's just not good for engineering or any purpose. I was told even tin was worth more in terms of use. To that end, I cannot fathom how Mayo Sama is profiting off this, but somehow it is mined and made into tool here, and somehow Mayo ship it off and fund the town. Totally stumped. By the way, can you give me coin? Oh, what number is this? 3. Got coin number 3. Yep. Wait, what? Oh. For 1 second you stuck, and then you just jump at me, and then man, I was about to punch my screen. Why so slow, man? Now we have to wait for about 1 minute, 2 minutes. Okay, he's gone now. A little later. Yokai report Nukenubi. Nukekubi. This week Yokai highlight is the Nukekubi. By day this vengeful spirit look like anyone else and are able to blend into society and manipulate those around them. However, and thus they are able to say their thirst for blood by detaching the head and searching for prey. Easy to say that their blood-curdling scream can incapacitate with fear before they fly down and drain their prey blood. Their origin is unknown. I sound like what is called chain smoker. But speculation is that they were human who were affected by a curse. There is no known cure, and because they have been known to pass down the curse, the only treatment is to end their suffering. Thanks again for those. Next week for Yokai Report Volume 53 we'll be covering the Raiju Wisman with the power to control thunder. Zeus. Any coin? Nope. How about back here? It won't budge. Oh, this is where the baby thing. Well, Dr. Clinical Follow-up, April 13, 2019. Thanks for seeing me. Methadone is not something we administrate in a town like this. I don't think the apothecary even has it on hand, but in the meantime I recommend Librium to help me with opiate withdrawal. It could work, it does for liquor. I know your hallucinations are vivid, but that is common with withdrawal. I'm surprised how is any concern of yours whatsoever. The life you led, I written a prescription, but if you're serious about turning your life and work around, get to Mayosama and get the job digging up or working the ore. There is still hope for you, but not for long. Is that what doctors say? I don't think doctor will say something like that. Like, you don't have that long and you can still work, but not for long. Like, what? I don't want to work if I don't have that time. Yeah, if I know that I'm dying, I'm not gonna work.
Right, so here's a behind-the-scenes secret. The heads do have names. There are 7 basic models. I think the only one that doesn't really have a name is the baby head, or Akachan. I think is the name of the like actual file.
Oh.
Baby, I think is just what we call it. But the other 6 are named basically whatever item was just like around or just what I was thinking of. I just took the name and I like very sloppily Japanified it. We should really get out of that habit. For example, you know, Posta is the first one we made. That's the one without the eyes, without any eyes, and that's, by the way, that's an import error. The eyes never imported correctly from Blender to Unity, which was my fault. It was like a transform thing. Posta's eyes are actually in the middle of the face, you know, but it's one of those like happy accidents. So Posta doesn't have any eyes, but Posta comes from, I looked around, I saw my mailbox outside my window, and I was like, mail post. Oh, okay, posuta, you know. And then Buku was my favorite. He's the like the bald one, looks like kind of like a monk. There's a book next to me when I named him, so that's Buku. There's Norano, which I was watching Interstellar, I think, when I finalized him. So it's like Nolan, like Christopher Nolan, the director of Interstellar. So that's Norano. Goofy, I was playing Kingdom Hearts at the time, so it's Goofy. Irisu, I forget exactly why, but I think that was like something like grocery store aisle, you know, is where I got that one from. And then Mikara or Mitara, her name, I think it came because I had a meeting at the time or something like that, or Metal maybe, I kind of forget. But I also unfortunately made her animation controller the name Mikara with a K, so she was inconsistently named for a while. I think we finally settled on Mikara, but don't quote me on that. The heads themselves are never named in the game, so you know that's what we call them internally. But you know, who knows? Maybe they'll get their own names. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens there.
I'm just gonna call them head, bald head, no eye, head, something like that. Simple one. Baby head, skin head, something like that. What I'm interested is the coin. Those are good follow-up. Thank you for seeing it, Naruto. How our explanation was shown, and I Mr. Anno Jesse. Anno Jesse. What? Okay. For the headache you get looking through the eye of the ascendant, it is so wonderful, and maybe it is psychosomatic, but I think I'm seeing it too. The blood vessel in my eyes are strange. It could cause blood vessel to burst. Rotten is eye, but it's so beautiful. But Rotten is eye, but it's so beautiful. Rotten is eye, but it's so beautiful. Do not continue on like this, including the backside. Oh, that guy.
The manor exterior area is the first real break that players get after the gauntlet of the previous 3 outdoor areas. As the developer, it's easy to forget how players will feel, but it is a safe assumption in a horror game that they will probably be more tense than you, since you already know all the surprises. Looking back, it probably would have been nice to have another similar, more relaxing area before residential and after courtyard, as the first 3 areas can be a little oppressive, especially all in a row. This area is aesthetically fairly pleasing to create a contrast from the shantytown, both for the story purpose of creating a contrast between the townspeople and Mayo, but also just to finally get players to realize they're in a much safer place than they have been up till now. There are still heads here, but there's basically no danger, and you can solve a nice little puzzle and just cool off.
Okay, thank you for the heads up. Mate Ayumi's journal. I will have the courage to ask May or Summer to have someone else do it. Overthinking I am that I can't even collect well water. Every time I go to fetch water, I hear strange noise from down below. Almost like something bleeding underwater. One time I saw a blinding blue light shining up from one of the vengeful spirit. I hear it is real, but the doctor insists it is in my head. In a way, I wish I could believe it was just me, but I know there's something happening down there. Can I see it too? No, it's closed. I'm searching for the coin. I'm the coin goblin. Give me the coin. Yep, I see one. Number 4. What is this place?
If you were to ask me maybe a year ago, what's the name of that thing in Japan? It's the bamboo thing that you pour water into it and it tips over,
Oh,
pours the water out, and then it comes back up and it makes that knocking sound. I probably would have told you, you know, oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. And now I will tell you that thing is called a Shishiadoshi, and that is burned in my brain forever because of how many times I forgot what it was called and I had to look it back up. The Shishiadoshi puzzle went through a few revisions. You know, we wanted a kind of Resident Evil style puzzle, so the idea was you do the whole like pull 3 switches or make a combination. And I think like initially what the puzzle was just going to be the sight jacking. It was going to be like the 3 heads looking in the tower and you sight jack them. And I even think the original idea was just like a passcode, meaning like they were just looking at 3 numbers and you had to put it in, which um I felt like, you know, there's got to be like a more organic way of doing that. And we were gonna use the Shishiadoshi in the residential area, like just as like a background thing or a thing to make like an environmental knocking sound or something creepy. And then I had this sort of idea for a Rube Goldberg kind of thing where you know, you have to rotate like a platter to make the Shishiadoshi, pour one Shishiadoshi, pour water into one, into another, into another. So I did that, or that is to say, I tried to make it like a mousetrap sort of thing where one pours directly into the other. But if you put them all together in the same scene, you know, it kind of works insofar as the 3 heads, you have to use all their views to sort of composite how this thing looks and how it's supposed to pour into each other. But it's one of those things when you actually model it and put the doshis together, like their mouths are too close together and it doesn't quite look right. So we cheat a little bit in this where they're on different floors. So one just kind of pours water down to the next floor. And it does kind of work. Like it does kind of line up. But since they're so vertical, like, you know, you never really have to get into the nitty gritty of where exactly it's all pouring and things like that. So the idea is just like, you know, we have a file that kind of explains like it's this weird counterweight thing that the engineer doesn't even understand why that Maya would want that built to hide the gong and all that. So, but it took me like a month to do like the water pouring animation, which I think you can only see in the top one, and that's just by accident in the sense that we like the way the heads are positioned, but then the bars of the windows just happen to block it for 2 of them. But I think the animation part of it sells what's going on, and a lot of people did really like that puzzle. So you know, it's one of those things when you spend a long time making something, you're not sure how it's going to turn out quite right, but a lot of the playtesters really liked it. So, you know, we had a puzzle. There you go.
okay. What? Shishiroshi? So how does this thing work? Nope. I'm gonna press it until it works. Okay. Wow. Random clicking work. Big Engineer Kantaro's diary. I wanted to write in the new order, the new way. But this is absurd. The year we live in is... If may or someone desire a remote switch to open the door, there are electronics that do this, but no engineer. All of it are with counterweight and gears. And then destroy the schematic. I did, but I can't let it all go, and not to mention the control for the fountain inside. I look at the outside. Why does it even need to be tied to the shishi or roshi at all? Why have them be inside? What's possible reason for such convoluted setup? What does he intend to hide in this tower? What's so important to lock up? Any coin? Don't see anything. Oh, is this why? This all is terrible. If we're being frank, it's soft. I mean, it's not worse. I can't imagine it being used in machine or anything. Doesn't seem safe. It makes me dizzy and nauseous to work with. But funnily enough, it seemed to calm Toshi when he's crying in his crib after I come in after working with it. While the gun is made and Mayo paid handsomely for me to make it and destroy the cars I created and the schematic he gave me, so that is done. I needed to lie down and die. That is the blacksmith. Whoa. Stop, man. What's this? For a long time we had only two unique enemy heads. The only Vuku they had on this picture had a stun animation, so on early vision of this sequence it was 4 Vukus that will come out to be... Okay. That's the Vuku. Oh, that one. That Vuku is smiling.
So there's two sound effects going on here. One when you first hit the gong, and then the other of the head screaming. So for the gong itself, start with what it is. I, have a library of sounds that I pull from, and a gong in there. I have several gongs in there. And so I got that, and I loaded that in. Laser beam, pew pew kind of sounds. And so I layered those two over and mixed them down. And then I took the laser beam layer and just kind of gently did a little low pass filter on it until it was, just increased that low pass filter until it was barely noticeable, and that's what you're hearing there. As for the scream itself, start with a scream. And then on top of that, I got some squishy Nickelodeon gack type sounds, right? And I Paul stretched them. I don't know what Paul stretching does, but it makes everything sound just like beautifully creepy and ethereal. I'm sure there's a science behind it that I don't understand. But I Paul stretched them out to give it kind of like until they turned into kind of a background layer. And then the final touch on that, I got sound of when you wet the rim of a wine glass and you make a little instrument out of them. You make a little. So I got one of those at a really obnoxiously high pitch and did it like squeaky, like as dry as I could get while still making a sound. And so I just had this like awful squeaking, screechy noise coming off of the rim of this wine glass. And so that is why when you hear the scream, maybe your brain hurts a little bit. I did that to you. I'm not sorry.
Fuck you. You're not sorry then? Fuck you. I'm not sorry about that. So where do we go? Oh yeah, over there. Give me coin. Do not enter. You're gonna enter anyway. Okay. I think that's it for part 1 of the gameplay. And the reason why I want to make 2 part of this game is because I just want to play full game for you guys. And obviously if I try to play till the end, it might take about 3 or 4 hours of gameplay video on YouTube. Nobody gonna watch that. That's why we're gonna do a part 1 and part 2. The part 2 is gonna be tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy. And see you guys tomorrow. Bye.